Hi everyone, welcome to this Google Product Manager mock interview. My name is Jose. I used to be a product manager at Google, where I interviewed many candidates, and I'll play the interviewer role today. With me, I have Mark. Mark, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. My name is Mark, and I used to be a senior product manager at Google for many years. I worked on software, I worked at hardware, and we are thrilled to help you on your journey here. Jose, back to you.
Thanks, Mark. So the question is, you are the PM for YouTube Analytics. What would you pick as the free key metrics and why?
Okay, so I am the PM product manager at YouTube Analytics. And you want me to pick the top three metrics that I would want to look at on a regular basis? Okay, got it. Couple questions. So one is, am I a global product manager or am I like a local regional product manager? What kind of product manager is this for YouTube Analytics?
Mhm. Yeah, I think you can pick if you think it makes a big difference for the answer. You can pick a region, or you can think global. I'll leave up to you.
Okay. Well, I like to think globally, so I'll go with globally. Okay, great. Um, Second question. In terms of three metrics that I want to look at, um, are we looking at three metrics that I want to report up to the executive team, or we want three metrics that I want to record to like the product health?
Mhm. Yeah, I want to focus mainly on your team and the success of your product.
Okay. Okay, great. Um, okay, great. So let me think about this for a moment. I'll get back to you in just a second about
Mhm.
how I want to approach this problem. Okay. So when I think about questions like this, I always like to start with the mission and then break it down into components. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about Google's mission. I'm going to talk about how YouTube sits within that. And I'm going to talk about how YouTube Analytics sits within YouTube. And then I'm going to go through a model that talks about our goals, our actions, metrics, and then do an evaluation and come back with a summary of the answer. So let's start with actually the mission because I think that's always a great place to start. So Google's mission is to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful. That's important context for how we're thinking about this problem. And then when I think about YouTube as a product within Google and a major product, it's a billion plus user product. When I think about YouTube, I'm not sure of their mission, but I think their mission is probably something like to share the world's videos and show them the world or something to that effect. So let's just say that the mission is for YouTube is to allow the world to share videos with the world. And if I kind of think about that mission, that's a very broad mission. But then if I think about YouTube itself, it's really a two-sided market. And it's a market of consumers, right? These are things that we're all familiar with on a daily basis. We go and watch cute cat videos and how to fix your sink and things like that, or music videos. So there's a consumer side of the market, and there's also a creator side of the market, which is the people that are actually producing the videos. And so for YouTube to have a healthy ecosystem for Google, there needs to be a really healthy ecosystem of consumers and creators. And then, since I'm the product manager of YouTube Analytics, right? This is a product within YouTube. Really, the market, or I should say, the segment or the customer that this product is interested in. Consumers kind of interesting, yes, but it's really focused on the creators. So really, what I'm looking at is I want to evaluate the main tool that creators are going to use on a daily basis to do their videos. And so,
Mhm.
so first, let's talk about goals a little bit. So overall goals. Goals behind this product are: one, we want to create a healthy ecosystem of of um, of developers who are, or I'm sorry, of creators who are creating videos. Two, we want to have a a rich set of videos that consumers can choose from, that are fresh and constant and so forth. And then 3, it's interesting for the creator marketplace. It reminds me a little bit of the airlines, right? You know, when you get on an airline and they say, hey, we know you have lots of choices when you fly today, and thank you for choosing Southwest, right? So it's, in a way, it's very, very similar, which is that creators actually have a number of platforms now, right? They have TikTok, they have Instagram, they have Snap, they have Facebook, they have Twitter. You know, it's, in a way, it's like Uber, right? There's drivers that do Uber and Lyft, and it's non-exclusive. And so I think the opportunity for Google is to have, one, all of these videos, but second, to, you know, really be like the first stop shop for these creators. So I'd say the third goal is to create preference for creators, so that they choose YouTube.
In questions that focus on specific product areas, it's important to start with the overall mission of the company. You can then connect the dots to get to the goals of your particular product area. Mark did this by defining 3 clear goals for YouTube as a company. This allowed him to then focus on the metrics that are relevant to these goals.
Okay, so those are our 3 goals. Now let's take a look at actions. So what kind of actions are we looking for our creators as they're going through this process? I think there's about 4 or 5 actions here, and I'll just kind of walk through them. Just thinking about the creator flow, right? First, they've got to sign up, right? Step 1. Step 2, after signing up, right, on a habitual basis, they've got to sign in. And I imagine users are going to want to sign in on a regular basis. 3, they're probably going to be uploading videos, and getting content live to their customers. 4, they're probably going to be using things like insights and analytics, right? This is the, you know, YouTube analytics product. So they're probably going to be using insights and analytics about how consumers are using their videos, how they're viewing their videos, where they're seeing their videos, what geographic regions, are the videos too long, are they too short, and lots of things like that. And then the 5th element is monetization. I think this is an important part here too, because YouTube has created a 2-sided market, and as part of that 2-sided market, creators love creating videos, I'm sure. But, you know, a lot of this is, it's big business. And so they want to make sure that they can monetize their users, so they're not creating content for free. And so they've got to be able to monetize them as well. Okay, so we've got our goals, we've got our actions. Let's talk a little bit about metrics. So on metrics, what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk through each of these actions and talk about a couple of metrics which I think are appropriate, that I'd want to watch on a regular basis. And then what we'll do is we'll prioritize these metrics according to our goal and our evaluation process. Okay, so signing up, our first action. What kind of metrics are we going to look at? Well, one, we're going to look at new users, right? Probably look at new users on a daily basis, monthly basis. This is probably a chart we just want to look at, just to see that new users are coming onto the platform. And we want an evergreen source of new users in general. The second metric I want to look at is the onboarding funnel, right? And this is a classic funnel of, if there's 4 steps to the process, 1, 2, 3, 4, where are people falling off in the funnel, and how do we optimize that? So that's going to be a metric I'm going to look at. Signing in, this is the next metric. Signing in, I think, is a really useful metric because it really tells me like how many people are engaging with the product at the highest possible level, right? And so these are metrics like DAU, daily active users, weekly active users, monthly active users. This gives me a good idea as, like, are people logging in and using the product on a daily basis? And sign in is a great proxy for that. Next is uploading a video. Some metrics that I want to look at around this is the number of new videos, right? So I think YouTube as a platform is, as long as there needs to be a constant stream of new videos. So it's probably just a raw number of new videos, which I think is an interesting metric. But I also think there's another interesting metric of videos per creator, right? So if you have, to draw an absurd example, if you've got one creator making 1,000 videos and then 1,000 creators making one video, that's not going to make for a very rich ecosystem. So I'm going to probably want to take a look at some kind of percentile distribution on videos per creator to make sure that I'm developing a rich ecosystem and encouraging people who aren't creating the videos to make more, and so forth. Next piece is about insights, right? So again, the insights are a big part I imagine would be a big part of the YouTube analytics framework. And so this is helping creators, discover users, see what users are watching videos, how long they're watching videos, and things like this. And so that way, I think I'd look at metrics here are probably on like insight views, right? So if I've got different pages which show analytics, I'm probably looking at insight views, and again, your, DAUs, MAUs, metrics like that. And then also probably interesting is kind of like, what's my most popular insights, right? So if I've got, a dozen or 2 dozen insights, what I'm going to want to do is see which ones are the most popular and put some, continue to put weight on those things and make sure that they're relevant. And then the last piece I want to look at, actually second to last, is monetization. And the key metrics here I'd look at are average monetization, right? You've got making $1 billion a year. What's our average monetization per user? Of course, averages don't always tell you a lot. I want to look at total monetization as the health of my business. That's probably more on the YouTube side. But I think what's more interesting here for the health of the business is to come up with a kind of a histogram, kind of a p-value monetization. And what I'm looking for is probably like a classic 80-20 model, where you've got probably 20% of my creators creating 80% of the revenue. But I also want to make sure that my other 80% of my creators are also making some revenue too, right? And I want to make sure that that's a healthy ecosystem. If you're giving too much money to the strong creators, that can basically remove incentives from the smaller creators and vice versa. And so you want to create a really healthy ecosystem there. And then the last thing I want to look at, I think, is your NPS score. I've been a big fan of NPS scores, and I think for a richer product like this, I think NPS score is good. And NPS is your Net Promoter Score. It really tells you, would you recommend this product to a friend? And I think this is really good for creators because for a couple of reasons. One is it gives me a good score, whether I know if it's useful or not. The second thing is that on at least the NPS surveys I've done, I always ask for comments, and I get a lot of great attractors and detractors, and that ends up being content for features I want to add, or maybe features that I want to improve in the future.
Framing the user journey as actions is a good way to remain user-focused when choosing metrics, like Mark did here. He described what creators care about in each step, and then connected the actions with specific metrics, with a great balance across quantitative and qualitative metrics.
Okay, so I've just listed a whole bunch of metrics. Let's go into an evaluation. But you have a question?
Yeah, one question
or no?
On the 80-20.
Yeah.
Why do you think it's so important for you that 20 is successful, right? Like what is your rationale for that?
Well, it's a classic Pareto curve, and all businesses tend to shape to this. And really, what I'm looking for is a healthy ecosystem, right? And even in evolutionary biology, you have healthy ecosystems. And what I'm looking for is that to make sure that I have a healthy ecosystem. And here are some signals of what would be an unhealthy ecosystem, right? So again, if I had an ecosystem where you had, let's say, even 10 creators that were making 99% of the revenue, right? And then I had 10,000 creators that were making 1% of the revenue. That's actually not a healthy ecosystem. Why? Because the other 10,000 creators are going to be like, this is terrible. I'm not making any money. I'm not going to put my videos here because it doesn't matter, right? So that's one extreme. And then you could have another extreme where you have lots of creators making a little bit of money, and they're great, but you notice that your large creators start to attrite, right? And maybe they're not making enough money. And maybe they're like, yeah, I used to post on YouTube, but the fact is I get a lot more money from TikTok, or I get a lot more money from Snapchat or Instagram. So I'm just, YouTube, whatever, it's not my choice of preference. So I think this kind of Pareto curve, this histogram of monetization distribution and usage in general is a good signal for the health of the overall ecosystem. And I think it's really important.
Okay, thanks. Answering probing questions is part of the process. You should be open to change while defending your point of view. Here, Mark defended this point about the importance of creative diversity by giving good examples to illustrate it. Okay,
you bet. So let's go back to our goals here. So we talked about goals about one, having a healthy ecosystem, and two, making sure that developers or creators really like this platform and use it. And so if I think of all the metrics we talked about, I think that the three metrics that I'm going to look at that give me probably the best indications of health are one, probably just signing in, right? I think kind of your DAUs, weekly active users, monthly active users. I think that's going to be a barometer that I'm going to look in, day out, week in, week out. I think that's a key metric. The second thing I'm going to look at is monetization, because I think this is going to give me a good idea of health in the ecosystem. And again, this is where we talked about this histogram. And so I want to create this healthy ecosystem where we know that creators are making the right amount of money across the ecosystem and are broadly satisfied, and we're creating a healthy business environment. And then the third piece I'd look at, I think, is that NPS score. So this is the more qualitative side, although it can be quantitative, but this is a qualitative side that I want to make sure that we have a rich product that creators use and love. And then also we have a good input stream for all the things that we know that they like and all the things that we know that they don't like, so that we're constantly adding new features that are relevant, and we're constantly improving features that may not be working to their expectations.
Got it.
And so there we have it.
It's important to finish strongly by summarizing how your chosen metrics will help you measure progress toward your goals. Mark picked a comprehensive set, which allows him to track growth, monetization, and user satisfaction. Let's imagine this scenario, where the monetization is actually going up and the signups or the daily active users, and I assume the daily active users, the daily active users is going down. What do you think is potentially happening there?
Oh, interesting. So daily active users is going down, but monthly actives is not, right? Or weekly active is not. So daily is going down.
Monetization, your dollar, your revenue dollar is actually going up. So your ads total dollar is going up, but the daily active users is going down.
Got it. So that could be, so that's why the health of the ecosystem is really important. That could be a symptom of basically your large creator, right? By large, what I mean is creators that create lots of volume that most people like. So your large creators are probably continuing to create their content, which people love, which is why you're seeing your revenue increase, right? But they're a smaller set of users, right? And then you've got a larger set of users, which is your long tail creator, and perhaps they're not making the revenue that they want, or perhaps they're not engaged, and so perhaps they're disengaging from the platform, right? So that would account for your revenue going up, your DAU going down, and this could represent a sickness in the overall health of the ecosystem. So to counterbalance that, you may want to look at strategies like, hey, what can we do to incentivize more small creators, right? Either joining the new creators joining the platform. So you have your creator creation engine. So you want to have new creators joining the system, or going back to creators that maybe have attrited or show signs of attrition to try and attract them back. And maybe you want to offer them a little bit more monetization or an incentive to upload a video or something like that to bring that back.
Yeah, I think that's a very valid hypothesis. Let's say that your health of the ecosystem is not your Pareto analysis. Actually, it's quite healthy. So that increase in revenue is happening across the board, but still you are seeing DAUs, and when I mean DAUs, is DAUs mostly of the consumers watching the videos going down, but the overall revenue of the business is going up.
Got it. That could be interesting. So in this scenario, you're looking at basically your revenue is going up, your creators are engaged, but you're seeing that that the overall content viewership is declining, right? What do you do, right? And this is probably something that there's probably two forks to this path, right? So one is, I'm the product manager of the YouTube analytics tool, right? So I'm going to observe this. So the first thing I'm going to do is probably pick up the phone and talk to the product manager, who is the product lead for the core YouTube app, right? Or somewhere in that group, I'm sure it's a large group, and say, hey, I've noticed these details. Is there anything wrong in the consumer generation space, right? And understand, like, is there anything wrong in the visitor space? So that's one fork I would take just to drive some understanding there. The second thing I'd look at is the insights, right? So we have insights within YouTube Analytics, and so there might be some observations and learnings to be made there. Maybe the decline is geographic, right? Maybe maybe all other markets are doing great, but Brazil is tanking, right? And Brazil is tanking because, right? Maybe maybe there's a new player in Brazil or something like that, and people are just flocking to that platform instead, right? Or maybe there's a war in Ukraine, and all of a sudden people in Ukraine can no longer view videos, and that's 40 million less users you're seeing in a day, and so your things are going down. So it could be geographic, it could be, and it also could be insights, right? It could be like, look, people are no longer interested in cat videos. Dog videos are the thing now. It's all dog videos, puppy videos, right? So that also could be a trend, that an individual creator might not see, but as YouTube Analytics we could see, and maybe letting users know that, like, hey, the hot new content now is dancing puppies and less the cats. So maybe make some videos there. Maybe it could be a content problem.
In metrics change questions, finding the right reason for the change isn't really the point. The key thing is to show that you can think of multiple internal and external scenarios and be structured in your thinking. Be prepared to adapt your approach, like Mark did when he switched from creator-facing problems to user-facing problems, as I gave him more information.
Okay, Mark, that was the end of the interview. Well done. Thanks for the input. You did a great job.
Mark used the game framework to good effect in this interview. It helped him stay structured as he developed an answer that was user-centric and very comprehensive. He also dealt well with follow-up questions, showing himself to be open and curious to different perspectives, while using good examples to defend this point of view.
I hope this interview was helpful for people watching. If you are preparing for the upcoming Google interview, both Mark and I are coaches in IGotAnOffer, so feel free to book a session with us there.
All right. Thanks, Jose, for the interview and thoughtful questions. And also thank you, everyone, for joining. I hope you learned some useful skills today. And again, please feel free to reach out and contact one of us for help. Thank you.